Okay, I thought I'd talk a little bit tonight about what are some of the DME or equipment options that Medicare will cover. And so, as I look up on the Medicare.gov website and some of the Medicare information, I see it covers DME. But what I'm finding is I don't see a lot of equipment that I, as a home mod therapist, would recommend for clients that are covered. But let's go through the list that they provide. Blood sugar meters, blood sugar testing strips. So canes, commode chairs. When I look under commode chairs, what I'm seeing here is that they need a doctor's order for it. They're to use in the home if you can't use a regular toilet. And in that situation, there's kind of strict standards that need to be involved, is what they say. And you may need to rent the equipment, buy it, or choose to either rent or buy it. So it doesn't describe exactly what kind of commode is available. And that would be something to work out with your DME provider. And I would strongly recommend you get to know a couple of them in your area for that reason. The next thing as I go down is CPM machines, the CPAP machines, crutches. Now, hospital beds, that's another interesting one that I find myself sometimes recommending. And so in this situation, from what I've spoken to my DME providers, they will cover a partial electric bed. The DME company gets reimbursed somewhere around $1,200 is what I understand. So for that, a partial electric bed means that the head of the bed goes up. The feet of the bed also move and go up or down. But that it has a crank handle to raise or lower the height of the bed, as opposed to a full electric bed where you can raise and lower the height of the bed, and you can then also operate controls for the foot and head of the bed. Now, there are other fancier beds. I've ordered a super low bed that will go down to the floor for a client who actually did his toileting by crawling off the bed and squatting over a bedpan. And that wasn't covered, but he had DDA and Medicaid and Developmental Disabilities Administration covered that for him. So we're able to find some other funding, but just be aware that generally, unless there's some other issues involved, such as severe pressure sores that need healing, weight, and needing a larger bed, some of those things, that the standard hospital bed covered by Medicare is going to be that partial electric twin bed, okay? Again, this is something, talk about your DME provider with that, get to know them, learn to talk to a couple of ATPs or people that are selling those, go and spend some time there to look at it. Home infusion services, infusion pumps, Lancet devices and Lancets, nebulizers and nebulizer medication, oxygen equipment and accessories, patient lifts is next on the list. Interestingly, I have not had a patient lift system covered yet by Medicare, but I'm usually asking for something very different. My understanding is you can get a standard manual Hoyer lift, and that is probably about it. But again, talking to your DME provider and seeing what they've been able to successfully get covered is really going to be your best bet on that. But ask, because obviously they have written in here patient lift systems. In the piece that I've seen, it doesn't give any more details about what that is on the sites, so I wasn't able to get any more information together for you. The other systems really aren't a lot of what we do with home mods, but there's pressure reducing support services, there's suction pumps, there's traction equipment, and then we get to mobility devices. We mentioned canes earlier, then we're looking at walkers and wheelchairs and scooters. So I do a lot of wheelchair assessments as well, because when I'm going in to do home mods, I'm often finding these people haven't had a wheelchair reviewed in a long time, or they haven't had one at all and they're not safe without one, or they've got one that was grandma's, or they've got one that was their neighbor's that they've lent them and it's not well fitting and meeting their needs. So again, it's really important to get to know your local DME providers, start talking to them about how successful they've been with getting equipment covered, what that looks like, what type of equipment it is, if you need to supply a letter of medical necessity, if you need to support that documentation coming from the doctor, how that works. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the other equipment a bit later on.